Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint Germain family. This video, unlike some other videos, we're gonna be discussing multiple stuff that has recently dropped. Unfortunately, I don't have the PC, I don't have a secondary phone I can be scrolling on, so I will be saying everything from here instead, from what I remember. The first thing is player departures. Paris Saint Germain, we will not be signing anyone. I mean, where is it? Like 2 days left of the transfer window. But the thing that Luis Campos has been working on is obviously departures. The first one, which obviously he departed back in January, which is Xavi Simons. He's now obviously gone to Spurs from Leipzig, and we are getting some resale money from that. I think maybe we had 10, 15%. So we're receiving a little bit of money from the Xavi Simons deal going to Tottenham Hotspurs. Then it's Carlos Soler. I think we've gotten a here we go. Carlos Soler to Sociedad. I didn't read enough, but it's either like a loan with an option to buy or maybe immediately. I don't exactly know, but it's a great that we can get rid of him. Arnaud Tenas, 2.5 million with bonuses going up to 6 million. And that's good for Arnaud Tenas and his career as well. I've always said Arnaud Tenas is a talented keeper, but I never saw the point in having him. He never gets opportunities. He's not really trusted by Luis Enrique either. Obviously now we have Chevalier and Safonov, so he was never going to get any minutes at Paris Saint Germain. Am I forgetting one more departure? Randal Colomani, Paris Saint Germain are obviously working on heavily to get him to Juventus. Paris Saint Germain one obligation to buy, whilst Juventus want a loan with an option to buy. But the fee could be around 50 to 60 million, which would be absolutely huge. We obviously paid up to 90, 95 million for Randal Colomani, including bonuses, and getting 50, 60, it's good. It's very good. I thought 40 maybe, because Colomani hasn't played that much and has not been that good. So I didn't think he had the stocks and would be able to garner that kind of a transfer. So very good that we're getting rid of Colomani and all of these players, they're sitting in the loft, not doing anything, generating some money. Because one big thing at PSG is the January transfer window. I would say before, let's say the Luis era, the Luis Campos, Luis Enrique era, we didn't usually do that much in January, but under them we do. Like before that, I remember when we signed Leandro Paredes in January. I remember Lassana Diarra. I'm unsure on Lo Celso, because I remember Lo Celso, we bought him, then we loaned him back to Rosario or back to Argentina. So we don't usually make January. But under them, obviously, we've gotten Beraldo in the 1st January, and we got Khvicha Kvaratskhelia. So if we have some problems, we'll definitely fix them in the January transfer window. If a big injury happens or something happens, Paris Saint-Germain can always go into January. And we have so much money. We can make another big transfer like we did with Khvicha Kvaratskhelia. And he was a game changer. He helped so much. I think Dembele even became better because then, especially in the big UCL nights, Khvicha and obviously Dewey, who came into form at that point, they could take away attention. Before that, it was like Dembele and Inshallah. But with them, we actually had a front three. So when it comes to the transfers, as I've said, I'll obviously do a transfer review when the transfer window officially ends. But yeah, it's a cheeky window. We got the main priority. We obviously know was right-footed right centre back, which we got. Chevalier, I didn't think that would happen, but we replaced Donnarumma with Chevalier. Obviously, I wanted maybe one player here, maybe one player here. But one thing is, we could technically have new signings. Think about this. For the goalkeeping spot, obviously Chevalier there. Hakimi is Hakimi, Nuno's Nuno. We obviously know about Zabani and so on. But it's more in the midfield. Warren Zaire-Emery. Imagine if Warren Zaire-Emery can come back to his level. Not even that level, just maybe 80% of it. That's basically a new signing, because it felt like we did not have Warren Zaire-Emery with us last season. Sinima Yulu is going to get many more opportunities this season and could be another signing. He was impactful. I remember scoring against Atletico Madrid in the Club World Cup and obviously in the Champions League final versus Inter Milan. So these are players that could potentially be used as new signings. I think potentially Tanguy Lee, now with him set to stay at Paris Saint-Germain, could have a bigger season with PSG this season. The biggest reason for it is the new formation switcheroo from Luis Enrique, playing with the number 10 more. So I hope that we see Tanguy Lee basically all the time in central areas. Yes, maybe he plays one game on the wing, that's calm. But I want to see him in the central areas. That's where Tanguy Lee can impact the game at his best. So even Tanguy Lee could have a better season. than last season. Then when it comes to the attack, I mean, it's the usual stuff. Dembele, Khvicha, Due, especially if Due starts playing more in midfield as well. So I think we have a very strong squad, which I'm very happy with. I've seen some PSG fans like, we got a tough draw. We only signed 2 players. Basically, one player gets Chevalier, we're just replacing Donnarumma. We basically just had one signing, you could say. A lot of people think, that's weak or something. I don't think so. We had a really strong squad. There was a reason we won not just the Champions League, but every single competition that we competed in. So I'm very confident with the squad that we have. Moving on to the game tomorrow. Paris Saint Germain are set to play versus Toulouse. Toulouse usually, aren't that good. I think we're going to play them away. We all remember the away game from last season against Toulouse. I mean, it was absolutely disgusting. It was just a resting game, basically. But Toulouse have been a bit cheeky so far this season, winning their first 2 games of the season. Them, us, Lyon, and maybe someone else in Ligue 1 has done that. So we got to be a bit half ready. But then, obviously, immediately after the game starts the international break. So just end it, maybe get a point. And I've said this before. For me, the season starts after this international break because of the short vacation that the players had, the intensity of last season, and obviously going all the way to the final in the Club World Cup in the summer. Having that UEFA Super Cup, it was a really tough game, intensive game versus Spurs, who played so many games up until that game. So it feels great. But as I said, my expectations, 2-0. You know what? We got 1-0, 1-0, 2-0. And I like the clean sheets. I think that's something PSG are potentially working on. We saw ourselves in big Champions League games. If we want to keep a clean sheet, if we are saying you're not going to score, you're not going to score. Did that to Arsenal and Liverpool in away grounds. And that's something that is huge, especially in the UEFA Champions League. If you can keep yourself solidified defensively. This is something, we've had problems with before. When it comes to the lineup, I haven't seen any predicted lineups. Nobody is injured. Nobody's going to miss the game, apart from potentially Mayulu, but he should be back in the squad. He was obviously out with like a minor, maybe knee injury or something. So Mayulu should be back in the squad. Luis Enrique obviously lost game, basically played the best 11. I think he's going to play a strong 11, but maybe with some cheeky rotations. Maybe Vitinha gets rested a bit. Mentioned Barcola. Maybe Dembele doesn't start. It also depends on, how they play in the international break. Dembele will... You know what? France, sometimes they do half-half. Like one game, strong lineup and so on. So maybe Dembele only plays one game, international break and so on. So Zabarni, I think he should get his second start so we can see him more often. It'll be good seeing Chevalier. Hopefully he can keep a clean sheet. Maybe Warren Zaire-Emery starts the game. And, he's been... Look, what I said about Warren, it's the baby steps. It's the baby steps. Because he's still far away from the Warren that we love and we'll remember. But it's all about the baby steps. And so far, I'm seeing the baby steps. I'm seeing the 7 out of 10s. The average performances. Not a bad performance. Not a mid. Maybe a high-grade mid performance. So I want Warren Zaire-Emery to continue that upward trajectory that's going on at the moment. Another, let's give my prediction. Yeah, 2-0. That's how I feel about tomorrow's game versus Toulouse. Goal scorers. Let's go Bradley Barcola and... Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, actually. He has to up his form. I was going to say the same about Due, but he was actually good last game, especially in that first half. So, Khvicha, he has to up his performances. Khvicha obviously missed last game with a minor thing. He'll be back, should be starting this game as well. Another thing is the FIFA ratings. For the people that watched my video where I reacted to the FIFA ratings, a lot of them were actually incorrect. That leak was incorrect. Dembele actually got 90. Which is absolutely beautiful and deserved. Achraf Hakimi, I think, is 89. 89. Vitinha, I think, is 89. I think both him and Pedri are 89. And then Rodri got a downgrade. Vini got a downgrade. So, no, the FIFA ratings was actually better than when I reacted to it in that video. Marquinhos kept his 87. Nuno Mendes, 86. Could be maybe 87. But no, I'm very happy with the FIFA ratings that the Paris Saint Germain players got. But that's basically it regarding Paris Saint Germain at the moment. Finishing off the transfer window, finishing off the game tomorrow, going into the international break. Because immediately after the international break, we got Axelon, we got Marseille, and we got that first Champions League game. Obviously, the schedule has not come out yet. We do not know who will play first, who will play second, match week, and all of that. When that comes out, we'll definitely react to it here on the channel. But yeah, I think I've gone through everything. Hopefully, guys have enjoyed this video. That's been it from boy PSGINT, and as usual, allez, Paris. one last thing I want to mention. I will be live for the Paris Saint Germain Toulouse game. There will not be a pre-match podcast today, and there will not be a post-match podcast tomorrow, but I will be live for the game and then post my reaction and the goal reactions as usual. I'll be back like in my studio in a couple of days for the international break. Another outro. That's been it from boy PSG, and as usual, allez, allez, allez Paris.